The Long Road by Wolfland. Chapter 11. Staunch. Pokemon Trainer's Handbook, page 5. When a Pokemon is caught, it forms a bond with its trainer. This connection between human and Pokemon is what allows a trained Pokemon to surpass the limits of what its wild counterparts can do. A pained cry echoed through the arena as Armaldo fell to the ground, unconscious. Lunatone and Solrock hovered in a serpentine path back to their trainer's sides, eyeing the lone Pokemon left standing after their combined attack. Credilli had managed to weather the fierce combo, but her head was drooping dangerously low as her body shook from exertion. Steven frowned as he recalled his fallen partner. After spending time at Taj and Mira's house when he was recovering from the debacle in Shoal Cave, he knew the psychic duo would pose a challenge for his upcoming gym match, but he never expected to have this much difficulty. He had hoped that Credilli and Armaldo's tandem evolution would serve them well in battle, but they were quickly overpowered by the gym leader's combined attacks. The ancient psychic Pokemon proved to be faster than they looked, and he foolishly allowed the gym leaders to set up with defensive and offensive support in the first turns of the battle. Now, his attacks were only dealing minimal damage, while his opponents were able to fire off powerful attacks in quick succession. If only he knew how much damage his Pokemon had managed to inflict before they were struck down. Credilli, return. Taj's eyes lit up. A double swap? Things are getting interesting, Mira finished his thought, with a smile playing across her lips. You're thinking that this time, raw power will overcome our teamwork. Steven's hand faltered where it hung over Lyron's Pokeball. Were they expecting this move the whole time? Was it a trick to get him to second-guess himself in the heat of battle? No, he couldn't let their words get to him. He had confidence in his partners, and they in him. He grabbed 2 Pokeballs with conviction. Lyron! Metang! Let's go! His jaw was set in concentration as 2 metallic cries filled the air. He had to fill his new teammates in on the situation, and fast. Listen up! We've got a few more turns until the sunlight dies down, so you're going to have to dodge Solrock's flamethrower as much as you can. We're going after the support first. He jabbed a finger towards the moon-shaped Pokemon. Just don't look into its eyes. It knows hypnosis. Both Pokemon nodded as they turned back to face the opponent, and Steven grimaced. Taj and Mira both were still smiling. 2 steel types. An interesting choice indeed. We can sense your strategy, but will you be able to pull it off before we execute ours? In no mood for more mind games, Steven seized the first attack. Bullet Punch! Iron Head! Go all out on that Lunatone! Metang whirred into action, vanishing in a blue blur as it sped towards its target. Lyron quickly followed suit, falling in behind in a lumbering gallop. Flamethrower! As Metang's claw fist-smashed into the Lunatone, sending it spiraling towards the ground, Solrock ignored its partner's plight and took aim at Lyron. Protect! Steven's shout caused Metang to turn, in time to see Lyron pull up and raise its blue defense shield in place as the flames drew near. But to everyone's surprise, the fiery attack didn't make contact with Protect's barrier. Instead, the flamethrower took on a blue glow of its own and arced away in a looping path that rose high above Lyron's head. Startled, Lyron's head jerked back as it watched the flames curl like a Seviper, and with its concentration broken, its barrier fell. Solrock wasted no time in capitalizing on the opening, and the flames surged downward, engulfing their target. Lyron's cries of agony shook Steven from his shock, and he yelled to his other Pokemon, Metang! Take Solrock out, now! Screeching in anger, Metang shot across the battlefield and slammed into Solrock fist first. Chunks of orange rock chipped free at the impact, and the flames finally stopped as it was driven to the arena floor in a cloud of dust. Matang hurriedly arrived at its partner's side, where Lyron panted heavily, recovering from the sunlight-boosted attack. "What was that?" Steven snapped, fists clenched at his side. "A flamethrower can't change direction on its own!" But Taj and Mira just chuckled at the challenger's frustration. "It's our combination attack. Psychics are known for their ability to manipulate objects with their mind. And Lunatone is no exception." The Pokemon in question had recovered and bobbed back at its trainer's side, eyes still aglow with psychic energy. "You used a psychic attack to bend the flames?" Both leaders nodded in unison. "Very perceptive, trainer. Looks like our trick has finally been revealed." Steven stared hard at Lyron's injuries as he thought back to the previous round. Both Cordilli and Armaldo had fallen to Solrock's flames, and while there had never been an obvious deflection like the last attack, he clearly remembered seeing some sort of arc to the flamethrower that he had chalked up to precise aim. He'd been so naive to not question the leader's tactics right then. "Lyron, can you still fight?" Lurching back to its feet, Lyron snorted an affirmative as it shook its head to will away the pain. Steven steeled his gaze at his Pokemon's determination. "The plan hasn't changed. Take Lunatone down with Iron Head!" Taj shook his head at Steven's declaration. Hasty and foolish. But Steven wasn't listening. He was watching carefully as Lyron charged at Lunatone, head lowered. Solrock had already floated up from where Matang had flung it, and hovered in front of Mira, awaiting her command. Anticipating the attack, Solrock swiveled to track Lyron's path, but as the gym leader opened her mouth, Steven shouted a command of his own. "Matang! Scary face!" Before Solrock could unleash another torrent of flames, Matang levitated directly in its line of sight and affixed the sun-shaped Pokemon with a fierce glare. Solrock faltered, taken aback by the startling display, and its flamethrower dissipated at the source, leaving Lyron free to continue its attack. Taj paled, his Lunatone now vulnerable without its partner's support. He issued a hurried command. "Lunatone! Hypnosis!" But the psychic technique proved to be ineffective, as Lyron ducked its head closer to the ground, and the hypnotic waves bounced off its armored back. "Go, Lyron!" At Steven's urging, Lyron raised its head, and with a powerful push, launched itself airborne towards its target. The defenseless Lunatone tried to levitate out of its attacker's reach, but Lyron's jump proved to be high enough, and its jaws clamped down onto the lower half of Lunatone's curved body. Now past the peak of its flight, Lyron aimed for the ground, head first, dragging Lunatone earthward with it. "Solrock!" Mira's shout cut through Lunatone's distressed cries, and Steven watched the flames begin to build. Solrock aimed at where Lyron's trajectory was headed, and unleashed its attack. "No you don't! Matang, use confusion to deflect that attack!" "What?" Two simultaneous shouts issued from the gym leader's box. Matang raised one claw, and the air around the flamethrower shimmered with energy. "Lunatone, use Psychic!" But Lyron's jaws tightened around its body, and Lunatone faltered under the pain. Unable to counter Matang's psychic manipulation, the flames wavered in their path, before deflecting away harmlessly to the far corner of the arena. Untouched by Solrock's attack, Lyron plummeted to the ground, crushing Lunatone beneath the full weight of its steel helm. As the dust began to clear, light shimmered through the rubble. Lyron's body was being lifted from the arena floor by a blue outline, and Steven cursed his miscalculation. Lunatone's boosted defenses from earlier in the match had held, and it was still able to fight. "Matang!" His shout caught his starter's attention, and Matang took off toward where Lunatone had fallen, leg raised in a finishing blow. Solrock swiveled to intercept, but the sluggish Pokemon was too late. Metang's punch landed with a resounding crunch, and Lyron dropped to the ground with a thud, landing on all fours. The referee raised his hand. "Lunatone is unable to battle!" Taj shook his head as he recalled his partner. "You sense it too?" Mira nodded. "We will not win this battle." True to her words, in that moment, the sunlight faded out, and Solrock turned to find two sets of eyes boring figurative holes in its rocky hide. And yet, in the face of such odds, it didn't falter. Summoning the boulders of a rock slide attack, it wavered in the air before launching them at its opponents. But Metang and Lyron were unfazed, and their glares held steady, even as the rocks rained down around them. Once the attack had run its course, it was their turn. At Steven's quiet command, they launched into action. Solrock barely had time to hover back and retreat before Lyron's steel-clad tail lashed out. The blow landed with enough force to send it flying toward where Metang lay in wait. Leg raised, Metang timed Solrock's haphazard approach, and with a calculated swing, it brought its fist down, connecting a metal claw squarely with Solrock's face in a vicious spike. Solrock hurtled to the arena floor, where it left a small crater on impact. The referee winced, but raised his arm to signal the defeat. "Solrock is unable to battle! The battle is over, and the victory goes to the challenger, Steven Stone!"